Alright, welcome to another Boulevard Paper Fight. This is not a Keyforge video. This one is actually going to be looking at Untamed Feral Factions. And this is a game that I purchased through Kickstarter, and I got to jam some games with it, and it is super cool. I'll kind of go over how the game works very quick, as this is the first one I'm going to do looking at each of the factions. So basically, you have a deck that is made of 3 of the faction. This one here is the Rat faction, and as a result you get 3 strongholds. The idea of the game is to destroy each stronghold by putting 7 or more damage counters on it so that it becomes destroyed, and then you use the next stronghold, and when all 3 have been defeated, you win the game as a player. And each of these strongholds has an ability you can see on the bottom, and once each turn you can use the ability at the bottom and get to basically have what it says. So this right here is a fury cost, and then this card here, you'll notice, has this here. That's the actual cost. So you can play 1 card from your hand face down, and it counts as a resource to pay for these things, and those are reusable. And every time you discard a card or it gets destroyed or anything like that, it goes to an area called your support area, and then it generates a resource of one of these paw-licking prints is a support resource, and then that resource can be used to pay for different things. And once you use that resource from your support area, it then gets removed from the game and can no longer be used. So it's basically like you have a reusable resource area, which is represented like this. It's usually to the left of the stronghold as it shows here, and then your support resource is to the right of the stronghold as shown here. So with the rats, they have their, I guess, faction leader, so to speak, is this guy right here, King Boras, and costs 4 resources to play. It does 3 damage, and it has 4 defense, but it has a passive effect. Whenever you play an animal with power cost 2 or less, deal 1 damage to a stronghold. Now here's the cool thing, is aside from King Boris, the entire rat faction is basically going to trigger that. So that's pretty cool. So you get 3 of everything except for the items you get 2 of. So you have 3 of these guys, and it has a last word play. So last word basically is anytime this card is put into the support area here, it basically triggers, and it says play an animal with power cost 2 or less from your support area without paying its power cost. So that's that, the power cost. So you basically put this in, then you can take something else and put it into play for free. And you can use this as you're discarding this card for whatever reason, or it gets killed, you suddenly get to use that. So it's pretty sweet. And at the end of, oh, there's one last thing. You can play 1 card down as a reusable resource each turn, and you may do that. And then at the end of the turn, you must put 1 card from your hand into this area. So you could technically use one of these guys, put it in here, get the last word trigger, and put something with 2 or less out. So that's pretty cool. So I really like this rat deck. I think it's pretty interesting, or the rat faction. So you got the 3 King Boreases. Next up, you have the Dockside Bruiser. Now, it has a symbol at the top here. It's a little star. What that means is it's a rally trigger. So what happens is when your stronghold gets destroyed, for each stronghold that has been destroyed, including that present one that was destroyed, you get to draw a card. So if I happen to draw the Dockside Bruiser after my stronghold been destroyed, because it has a rally, it instantly comes into play without paying its cost. So that's pretty cool. So this is a guard, which means you cannot attack a stronghold while a guard creature is in play. Then it has a last word thing where you may pay a resource and deal 1 damage to all animals. So you get 3 Dockside Bruisers which do that, which is pretty cool. And then next up we have the Hollow Tail Thug. So Hollow Tail Thug is a 2 damage, 1 defense, costs 1, and it says arrive, you may pay 2 support to deal 1 damage to a target animal. If the target animal is defeated, draw a card. So that's pretty cool. So you have, again, 3 of these. And then last up, we have the Hollow Tail Scout. So when it arrives, it gains 2 Fury. Now this is something we haven't talked about yet. Fury is basically a +1 power counter, which makes its attack stronger. That's what a Fury is. And there's different ways you can interact with Furies. Like, for example, its last words, move all Fury on this to another creature. So when this gets put there, any Fury gets moved from here onto another creature. So that's pretty cool. And you got 3 of those as well. And it also has Rally. And then lastly, you have the item of the rat faction, and that is you may pay 3 fury instead of paying this card's power cost of 2. So a way you can basically utilize the support resources instead of your actual resources. And it says your opponent must deal 3 damage to animals they control, divided any way they choose. And you get 2 of those. So it's kind of like you're doing some direct damage, but you're not in control of how that damage gets put out unless they only have 1 creature. So that sums up the rat faction. I really like this one because of the way King Boreas interacts and the other things that exist. And then you have the Stronghold, of course, which I haven't talked about yet, has a ability that you can activate each turn, is pay 1 support cost, and target animal with power 2 or less gains 1 fury or move 1 fury from an animal to another animal. And as you can see, every creature except for King Boreas has the cost of 2 or less. So a pretty cool Stronghold, I must say, and it's a pirate ship. So these are basically pirate rats, and I really like that theme and flavor. So that sums up this first faction. I'm going to look at the rats. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe, and check out some of the other factions because those will be following.